YouTube. It's weird. It's really weird. God.
We could also just stick with Twitch.
No. I mean, we can, I just don't want to.
Okay.
We'd like to also be on YouTube, view on YouTube. We can also view on YouTube.
Twitch.
No, we are now live on
We're
YouTube.
live.
Yeah, I just need to send a new link. This is annoying. It's a process, and we're in the learning phase, Annie. You know?
I'm chilling. It's all good.
Okay, now I'll send you the link. Just send it on Insta. Okay, now we have the YouTube link, and I will also post it.
Okay. خلاص.
خلاص. YouTube is also live. So.
See what we're.
We are live on YouTube.
Okay.
Okay.
6 Zuschauer.
This is on Twitch. On YouTube, we have, I do not know how many, but we can see. And we can also see the chat, which is awesome because we need if people interact with us.
Okay.
So yeah, here we're also live. And this is the live chat. Okay.
Okay. Let's start. Cool.
7 minutes late. It's the beginning.
But neither of us are German, so I'm really fine with it.
Yeah, I mean,
7 minutes late.
7 minutes is like nothing as long as it's in the same hour.
Yeah.
So, first off, why are we doing this? Like, what's our goal? What do we want to achieve with this? I mean, the main goal is to create an alternative to the mainstream media and to counter the insane propaganda that we're facing here in Germany, the lack of journalism, and one of our main goals is to center Palestinian journalists to get their voice across from Gaza, from the West Bank, from Palestine, all of it to the German mainstream and to change the narrative. What we also want to do is we want to create a space. We want to create a space for everything that the community is feeling right now. The anger, the rage, the helplessness. We want to remain authentic, and I mean, we're both good at staying authentic, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And something that we've talked about that I think is really compelling and really powerful, and that I see as not necessarily lacking, but maybe not being centered, is the fact that so much of this for so many of us is unprecedented. Yeah. I mean, I've only been radicalized really for a few years now. I didn't grow up with any of this material. I think a lot of people have been activated and have mobilized in the last year or so. And they don't have experience and they don't have a channel really for their emotions and, the physical and emotional sensations of being attacked in the streets by cops, or every time you open Instagram, seeing a dead bleeding child in Palestine.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you normalize that? I think we don't want to normalize that. We want to specifically say, no, this is unprecedented. It should remain unprecedented, so to speak, and therefore we want our political analysis to be political as it is and will remain, but we also need to acknowledge that in our political analysis, there must be space for the rage, there must be space for the pain, and that is really what connects us to this fight, is our humanity, our ability to be human, and our ability to be in our rage and channel it into effective and productive organizing.
Yeah. What this also means is that you guys can send us links and we can get mad at them together. This is an open community. Anybody can send whatever. Just, I mean, try not to troll us because we're not very trolling right now is not a very yeah it's not something we want.
I also think, why don't we take a minute and also just talk a little bit about how we arrived here and why we're doing this together, and also in this space. Like, I think that's worth sharing because you're looking at our faces and maybe you've seen us on previous streams or on social media in various respects, but I think doing this in this format, doing this stream, is very organic to us and the way that our friendship and comradeship has developed.
Yeah.
And that was meeting a couple times at Palestine related events in Berlin, including when was that? That was Nakba Day this year, the Nakba Day demo.
Yeah.
And the way the dynamic developed for us really was rooted in there being space for this rage and this kind of like tenderness in the way that we relate to each other and the way that we relate to this content. And then Karam invited me to Hanover and we did an event together in May or June on the history of Zionism and the movement in Germany and such. And I think what we found in creating that space at the event, which was through our, the organization that we're both part of, Sozialismus von unten, as well as the Palestine Solidarity Group in Hanover, what we ultimately found was having an expansiveness in the way that we create space and in the way that we approach these topics incites and inspires people to move forward and to move forward together. Yeah. So even in talking about this in the last few weeks and realizing we really have something here, we really want to change something, we want to change these narratives, and we want to address this gaping hole in the media. Yeah. And kind of the raging propaganda in Germany. In looking at that in that gaping hole, we figured there's really something that we can create, and we want to do that together as well. Yeah. So,
and I think also we were vibing the entire time, so it's. I mean, Rachel said it was completely organic, and I think what you also mentioned about like mobilizing, I think this could be an entrance for maybe Germans who are a little bit afraid to say anything, because we have seen statistics where like 70% of Germans are against the weapon exports to Israel, and this is in spite of the insane amount of propaganda. It's failing. The propaganda is failing. This settler colonial state is failing, and we have a chance to inform, to educate, and to learn also together. This is, if you guys send us links that we have never seen, then it would be a learning opportunity for us. We can learn live on stream together. I think this is basically the goal of this,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was the first thing that we wanted to talk about today, and kind of opening this space is the enormous opportunity in this moment, which can also feel discouraging because it's been 1 year of genocide, and as we say, it's been 1 year and 76 years of genocide, ethnic cleansing, and the occupation of Palestine. But after this year, we have seen so many people awaken. We've seen so many people wake up. We've seen so many people radicalize in that necessary sense of looking around and realizing they've been lied to. Their socialization has been a lie, particularly in Germany, where this is the propaganda is so extreme and it's so debilitating, and the purpose is really to intimidate people. And we see, looking around, that people want to be awake. They want to be awoken, and what they need is a means of then taking that state of realizing that the world around them is different than what they knew, and organizing and moving forward with it. So these statistics, which is something like 69% of Germans are against Israel's approach in Gaza, and 87 or 89% of the German population. Again, every time I say this, it blows my head open. 87% or 89%. Forgive me, I really should have looked up if it was 7 or 9
We can look it up.
beforehand. Yeah, we can also look it up. I have it on my phone here. They are like that majority of Germans think that the West needs to be more critical in supplying arms to Israel.
Yeah.
And that we have a few kind of more concrete examples as to how we've used those statistics in our organizing in Berlin and in Germany in general. But I think that just can't be emphasized enough. What a massive opportunity that's been. I mean, there's been over decades a huge amount of repression against Palestine solidarity, and that was already increasing in the years leading up to October 7th, 2023, leading up to the genocide. But now we really have the world's attention in a way that, I mean, I would hazard a guess that it has never been this way before. That's the message that I've received from many Palestinian comrades and friends and people who have been active in this movement is we are at a climax of the Zionist entity failing and revealing itself to the world and telling on itself and all of its bloodlust, and also the basis of its existence being settler colonialism. So
we have a very interesting question. I mean, I think we all saw this coming.
I mean, I think this is a trolling question.
I mean,
I can talk about it. Yeah, absolutely.
It could be, but the interesting thing is the link that this person has sent, and the link is about the new resolution against anti-Semitism. And I mean, we can look at this resolution and just see how it's weaponizing the fight against anti-Semitism as a means to create silences, as a means to oppress and like just completely silence the Palestinian voice.
Yeah, absolutely. Wait, I want to look at this link as well. Eine breite Mehrheit würde es wohl nur im Bundestag geben. Yeah, okay.
We can switch so they can also see this.
Yeah, cool. So, I mean, I have so much to respond to this question, regardless of the intent. Like, it is a really important question. I think. Well, first of all, I'm not necessarily here to talk about just Palestine or to take up space talking about Palestine. These topics are intricately and inextricably linked, and that is because of the weaponization of anti-Semitism and the fact that the majority of my community, which really feels horrible to have to say that, is comprised of bloodthirsty Zionists. And I think that's something that we have to be very clear about in looking at the Jewish community, is people really want to conflate the two, which obviously we stand against. Zionism is not Judaism, Judaism is not Zionism, anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism, vice versa. But at the same time, of course, up until recently, the vast majority, and this has fluctuated over time. Earlier on, in the early 1900s, late 1800s, the majority of Jews were against Zionism. Certainly, we see a lot of Jews nowadays who are in a very loud, what is now minority, advocating for Zionism. But ultimately, no, of course the fight is against the weaponization of anti-Semitism, and that's been a huge focus for me. At the same time, and these are kind of sensitive topics in the way that they interact, at the same time, I feel like centering the weaponization of anti-Semitism is really stale at this point. I think how much can we possibly talk about anti-Semitism when ultimately that ends up taking up the space in talking about Palestine, that's why we have this. Like, we want to center Palestinian voices. We want to center the narrative around Palestinians. We want to center the narrative around Palestinian journalists. All of this.
And like, to be honest, I think the fact that we have to always talk about anti-Semitism is a distraction from the actual genocide that's going on right now. this might not, the person might not have meant it as a troll question. It's just a question that takes away from the actual point that we need to be centering right now, which is Palestine, Palestinians in Gaza, especially in the north, are being erased right now. The fact that we have to talk about identity politics and bullshit that the German government is now pushing onto us through resolutions that are not rechtsbindend, like they're not legally binding, is just, for me, it sounds like a distraction, and I would like to not engage in many talks about anti-Semitism and how it's been weaponized. I think this we have had this conversation when you came to Hanover,
Yeah.
and I think the fact that anti-Semitism is being weaponized to silence Palestinians is not something that we should project onto Jewish people who want to talk about Palestine. I don't see how this is. You know that Rachel did not sign up on the resolution, right? Like, she did not do that. I was there.
But this is also this is kind of central for me. This is why we don't organize on the basis of identity politics, and I'd love to do a stream on this at some point. It's a really, really interesting, and
There's
kind
a
of
book, yeah.
there's a lot of books, there's a lot of things that we can point towards as recommendations. But I think also organizing on the basis of identity would be me being active in the Palestine movement, or me being active in talking about anti-Semitism because being Jewish gives me a qualification to do so. That's certainly not the case. I don't think I'm qualified to talk about Palestine because I'm Jewish. I mean, really, not at all. I think we are sitting here because of our relationship to each other and our commitment to the cause, and that exists very much necessarily outside of the context of identity. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we wanted to move to
We wanted to move to
like a bit of an update, right? To start out with.
We have first off, for the people who were maybe not completely looking at what's going on right now, we have the.
You didn't copy the full.
Oh yeah. So we have the plan that is being now implemented in Palestine and in the north of Gaza is a plan called the Island Plan, or the General's Plan. And the General's Plan is basically a plan for even increasing the rate of genocide that that has been going on since the 7th of October. And I'll show you I can also share the link here in the chat. So this is the link. This is a translated article. And was bedeutet? What does the Island Plan mean for the north of Gaza? On the 17th of September, the Meron Rappaport. Anyway, it's a plan to liquidate the north of Gaza. In this plan, they're creating closed military zones, and which are basically similar to the death zones that we have already seen in Gaza before, during like 3 months ago when we had video footage of Israeli snipers killing unarmed Palestinian men walking or riding a bicycle. And this plan is like the Israeli government is saying it's not implementing this plan, but all of the aspects of the plan, including the hungering, the forced famine that they're doing in north of Gaza, is part of this plan. The Abriegelung von Wasser, Lebensmittel und Treibstoff. This is what Yoav Gallant said in the beginning.
Yeah.
This was on the 9th of October. He said, this is what we're doing, which is genocidal. Like, this statement is so genocidal that in the International Court of Justice, Israel has been accused of committing a genocide, plausibly. And not even that.
With
Also,
these quotes as proof of such. I mean,
yeah,
hundreds and hundreds of pages of quotes
yeah.
exactly like this.
Like the references, I think they had 530 references.
Yeah.
South Africa did, and this Giora Island. I mean, not even before we come to Giora Island, we have this Yoav Gallant, which he's like,
Defense minister.
yeah, the defense minister. He literally is the, what was it, Karim Khan, the from the ICC,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
is attempting to get a warrant for Yoav Gallant and Netanyahu for using starvation as a weapon of war. And he's been like threatened as well. He was threatened, like they threatened to arrest his kids and stuff like that, and which is, it sets a precedent for other oppressive states to just say like, oh yeah, you're gonna issue a warrant, we can arrest your son, or we can do whatever. And also another point to Giora Island. Giora Island has once said that, and I quote, "Diseases will help us win the war." This would also mean this it has a direct connection to the complete destruction, to the intentional complete destruction of the medical care system in Gaza.
Yes.
And it is still going on. The number of massacres, like, I don't know, we like as Palestinians, we've always had like some massacres that are like very horrific, that you just know, then like just by saying Sabra and Shatila, you know exactly, almost like you know everything about this. You get the feeling of you have been they've wanted to murder you since the beginning. When you look at Der Yassin, when you listen to Seytan Tura, all of these massacres were very horrific back then. What we are not understanding is the massacres right now put those massacres, like in comparison, the number of people who were murdered by Israel, the number of massacres. We have the tent massacre, we have the flower massacre,
Al-Shifa Hospital massacre.
Al-Shifa.
Although how many of those have there been by now? And yeah.
It's it feels like the things that were core to the Palestinian identity, these massacres, are now being doubled, tripled, verzehnfacht, and just being implemented right now.
And this, I think, I've read, so a few things come to mind about that I think are really key and also very consistent in messaging throughout the movement. Although, again, that's very difficult to convey in Germany to some degree. One is a post by the Palestinian Youth Movement, and I can just I have only the highest recommendation to follow them on Instagram and all the social networks. They are unbelievably principled and put out an exceptional degree of content. Anyway, they had written something about basically this, about how the experience of relating to martyrdom, and you can speak to this certainly better than I can, was so core to the cause and to the way that they related to the massacres and to this kind of trajectory of violence throughout history. And now one of the most devastating and one of the most violent aspects of the genocide now is not having the opportunity to mourn the martyrs, not to have the opportunity to know each and every one of their names and their faces, and to know that likely we will never be able to, because the scale is so much greater than anything we could have imagined, certainly on the 6th of October, that we would be, living a year plus of genocide. The other thing that I'm thinking of, I can't remember where I heard this. I think it was an article in Al Jazeera. I think it was an op-ed in Al Jazeera that was basically about Israel having always committed this nature of genocide. There always having been this culture of genocide, the only difference now being the scale.
Yeah.
And this was always the plan. You can see this in the plans that they've laid out. You can see this in their genocidal rhetoric. This was always the plan. They were always leading up to this over 76 years. It took them 76 years to manufacture this amount of consent and to spew out this much propaganda that allowed them to do this, and that allowed them to bomb one hospital. And when they saw that they were able, I mean, I don't want to be a broken record. We all know this by now, but ultimately, it was different in October and November when we first saw a hospital being bombed, and the narrative was that Israel could never have done this. They would never do this. And then they looked around, saw that no one believed them, or if they did, then they didn't care. And then they bombed every hospital in Gaza, and they bombed every university in Gaza, and they killed hundreds of reporters and all of this. So, but I mean, one of the things that radicalized me, probably most of all, and I thought about her every day for probably a year, was the murder of Shireen Abu Akleh.
Yeah.
Like, that was something that was so undeniably and so deeply evil, and that's something that happens regularly and has happened. I don't know what the count of journalists is now. It's
Right.
approaching 200.
Yeah, it's 180.
It's 180. Okay,
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
180.
Yeah, and we're at this point where we see the more that they get away with, the more they continue on down that same path.
Yeah, and just to the case of Shireen Abu Akleh,
Yeah.
the way this murder happened and the way there was no consequences for it is basically the pattern of how the Israeli propaganda machine works.
Yeah.
You have the murder itself, where they shot Shireen Abu Akleh. She was clearly visible as a journalist. I think we've done this on the stream. I've done the forensic architecture
Right.
report,
Right.
and we went through it. And the first thing, in the first instance that they did, they shared, like literally, the Israeli state, a settler colonial state has a Twitter account, like some 16-year-old, and they posted a video of Palestinian resistance fighters shooting in the area supposedly, and it was like completely dismantled by B'Tselem, where they said like, no, there is no way. But when the point is, they brought this video out, they gave the pro-Israel, pro-genocide, pro-settler colonial state people just an argument to excuse their genocidal or their murderous intents. And what it led to is like, okay, I have this argument, and like 2 weeks later it was confirmed. It was like, it was completely dismantled, and then forensic architecture made the report. It was also broadcast on CNN and on BBC, but nobody cared. And this is the point. This is what happens. And this was a case where there was a lot of media attention because she's a Palestinian American journalist, and because also they attacked her funeral,
Right.
until the coffin nearly fell to the ground. And what this shows to me, it shows the level of dehumanization that Palestinians are not even free to mourn. Like, even the mourning is not allowed. And this is what we're seeing right now. Palestinians in Gaza do not have time to mourn. They barely have time to escape. And they're escaping from one place that is not safe to another not safe place, possibly being bombed on the way. And all of this, I think this sets the pattern of how propaganda works, or Israeli propaganda in specifically works. Okay. What do we have here? We want to also touch
Yeah, right.
on the German situation, and how like Germany is basically signing off on another genocide. Germany's done this quite some times, a few times. They've done this with the Herero and Nama people in the beginning of the 19th centuries. They've done this with the Maji people
Yeah.
as well in the 1800s. and they've done this with the Jewish people in the 1900s, and now they're supporting another one. So it's Germany loves genocide. So you just wish to have a partner that loves you as much as Germany loves genocide. It's insane.
You just have to laugh at that because
Yeah.
it's too dark otherwise.
It's
It's true though. It is true, and it is so built into the culture and the politics here on such a systemic level that the way that I mean, I don't know. This is a whole other topic in itself, but the way that Germany relates to it and the way that the media relates to it and so-called anti-Deutsche and areas of the population, although as we've covered, a great deal of the population does not believe in this propaganda. Regardless, a prevailing narrative around genocide is that nothing could ever be as horrific as anything that happened to the Jews, and no one could ever understand or top the genocide against Jews, and therefore Germans are the experts, and they're the ones they have a monopoly on genocide, and any genocide has to be run past the Germans, and certainly they have to have the opportunity to partake in it, and that's what we're seeing. And we say that obviously a bit satirically, but there is that cultural current.
Yeah.
It's a part of the culture. When I say culture, I really mean it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also this thing that Germans think they know anti-Semitism, like they're the experts in anti-Semitism because they did a genocide on the Jewish people, which is like they think they get enlightened through genocide, which is it's so weird. They always think that they have the moral high ground because somehow they know better. But it's, to be honest, it's just white supremacy expressing itself in these sort of ways that that reflect how they view other people or how they view other races. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I think so. I mean, in the way that we, I mean, to look towards actual like political analysis on this, because there is, we're joking about the culture and heritage of genocide in Germany, and that, I mean, there's a lot to be explored there. But in addition, what we always like to make very clear, and I think anyone who's watched certainly my stuff and has interacted with Sozialismus von unten, and I imagine also interacted with your content as well, will probably know that we make a very specific differentiation in how the German state relates to, and the German ruling class relates to genocide, and how the German state peddles its, or rather, partakes in genocide in the interest of furthering its geopolitical and economic interests. Yeah, I mean, we talk about that extremely regularly versus that of the German population and how they see through propaganda. And we do have a good deal more faith in the German population than I think we give off at first glance, because obviously, I mean, living here, we have our own lived experiences, and we have our own, let's call it what it is, demoralization to some degree as a result of having been here during a genocide for 1 year and seeing a lot of very silent people, a lot of very silent Germans. Yeah. But at the same time, I think it's also very crucial to see how the interests of the ruling class, the interests of the state, and the way that the propaganda, the media, the means of propaganda is weaponized in the interest of furthering those narratives, has kind of sunken in and seeped into the consciousness, into the psyche, into the orientation of the German public as well, which is, I mean, in my experience and in my analysis, revolves quite a bit around being silent and following orders. And there is something of that. Yeah. And while the narrative on the global stage has revolved around Germany having denazified and Germany having this grand tradition of memory culture, we know, living here, that Germany was never denazified. And we also see how the legacy of the Nazis and the legacy of genocide has been implemented, has been kind of stoked in the population, but not in an active bloodlust per se, really, but in the vestiges of how the genocide has shaped culture and the way that the working class and the German public relates to the ruling class and propaganda. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but so the thing is, I think Germans, like you said, like to follow orders, and it's not the direct bloodlust. It's the fact that that Germans are able to look away during a genocide, like literally look away during a genocide that's been made with their own money, with their own support, directly or indirectly, and it has always been the case. Germans have looked away in the past during a genocide that either have looked away, or like best case scenario they've looked away, worst case scenario they partook literally in the genocide. So it's not something new, and the fact it did not go away and come back. It has always been.
Yeah.
It has remained. As we've seen, like many Nazis remained in the same structures that they worked in before the so-called denazification. We have other cases where even Western, newly like American and British Geheimdienst, like CIA,
Secret Service.
Secret Service, started to work with Nazis to combat the new evil, which was communism at the time, and they started the Red Scare during the Cold War, and they used Nazis because they called them their like very efficient communist hunters. Yeah, but I think what we want to talk about is the German weapon deliveries.
Yeah. Which I think is a good segue from this.
Yeah.
Do you want to, or should I?
I would just go with.
Go for it. Yeah.
Okay, so what we've had in the past Annalena Baerbock on video in some place where people protested. She said, "Oh no, I can't stop delivering weapons if I'm not delivering weapons," which means, I mean, she said that they're not delivering weapons back in like June, July.
It was June. Yeah, it was June.
And then we have had her in the Bundestag saying, "Oh no, we have delivered weapons and we will continue to deliver weapons." Now the question is, what the fuck happened? Did she lie back then, or did she lie now? So apparently she was not lying. Surprisingly, they had stopped the weapon delivery since March, probably out of fear of being complicit in a genocide, which, by the way, Germany is being sued for in the International Criminal Court, in our International Court of Justice, by Nicaragua. And then what we've had is, I think they resumed. They resumed the weapon. They resumed the weapon exports because Israel signed something that says
waiver, a genocide waiver.
We swear we won't do genocide. Look, fingers crossed, no genocide here. And Germany accepted it, which is it's very telling, to be honest. Like, we've seen German journalists ask Francesca Albanese, is there a document that says, "Hey, we want to do genocide"? And she was
that
laughing.
reaction. I almost think that we should show it, because it was. So, if we can do that, can we do that?
Crazy.
It was truly such. I mean, that was quite a bit earlier in the year, but I think that is also. It is true. It's so telling in the way that this whole thing was framed, and you really see it in the reporter's face. Maybe it's giving him too much credit, but my impression was he actually believed that was a reasonable question. Like, he actually thought he was asking a really compelling question, where because Israel had not stated in so many words, but like had not stated we are committing genocide, then ultimately that clears them of responsibility for committing the genocide.
It was so funny.
It was great. Where was the?
We need to find.
Yeah, you should write German journalist, I think, because it was really circulating, because it was it was so wild.
This is Australian journalist.
Damn it, we really should have.
Australian bias on Gaza.
You have a typo there. Maybe it's.
This was the Australian one.
No, I mean the search. You have a typo there, so maybe it's.
Typo.
Where was it? Where was he from? Oh wait, this must be it.
Yeah,
this must be it.
This was.
Do you have a written document?
Wait. Oh, he did. Oh, yeah. This guy. Okay, wait.
Okay, can you switch to
1 second. Yeah, I can switch to it. Let's just hope it's okay. 1, 2, 3. Do you guys? Nobody can hear anything, right? I can't hear. Oh, it's muted. Wait.
You can hug me if you need.
Okay.
Good.
The gaslighting has worked. He has warned.
No, this is not it. It's so weird. Wait. This is it.
Genocide.
That in Rwanda, and in Bosnia
I
and
know, I
Herzegovina,
can't get the
any
volume.
It's. I mean,
government
they. I
officials
think they
will
can
they can
hear
hear
it,
the
but
volume?
I
Okay.
document saying,
we can't.
I
Okay, that's
want
fine.
to
Which is very
commit
weird.
genocide.
Can
Have you
you
seen
tell
anything
if you
like
can you
that?
say if you're
I'll
if you
answer
can hear?
this for you. No, it doesn't work like that. Those statements are just the tip of the iceberg because I have a word limit.
Yeah, regardless, maybe just
in my reports,
you can send
which
the
is quite
link in
strict.
the
Otherwise, we could
in the
write an
chat. It's
encyclopedia
worthwhile. I mean,
with
whatever.
what
It's
has
just a
been
minute, and it
said
basically.
and done. And I said it,
I
and
don't know. It really
mean
does show
the-
something about the
International Criminal Court
German consciousness
is
around
serious
this,
about
and of
investigating
course,
what
Francesca
Israel has-
Albanese's face is just it's quite priceless on in
I mean,
response.
the thing is, it's like Germany thinks that everything has to be documented. Just like if you sign something that says I won't do it, it's good. You signed it. You physically cannot do it.
You're in the clear.
Yeah. Mia Shallah, I would just like to tell you that we laugh about things that we can laugh about. Sorry if we have some joy left in life. It's what do you want us to do?
Doing our best.
We're doing our best, and yeah, we get to laugh. We are allowed to laugh sometimes, you know. Try it. It's good for your health.
We'll have other moments of extreme rage.
Yeah.
We have that in us as well the whole
Don't
time.
worry.
But
Don't worry.
yeah, okay. But so we talked.
Talked about weapons.
Sorry, weapon series. Yeah.
You wanted to add something, I think, too.
I wanted to add. What did I want to add? I guess my segue was really. We already kind of segued into it, but I think my thought was that regardless of how this socialization around genocide and around the heritage of genocide and around or just the fact that Germany was never denazified has, despite the fact that you can really see that still in certain ways in the German public and the population and the way that people consume media, all of this, at the same time, something that really does give me hope are these statistics and the fact that when we've been out in the streets, more and more over the past year, there are so many white Kartoffel Germans, out in the streets who have not been activated until now, but are reading these statistics and are seeing just how one-sided the media is and are taking this as an opportunity to react. And we can joke around and we can be aggressive and we can feel that rage towards this state that we live in, but it is towards the state that we live in and the repression that we're experiencing as a result of our organizing and of this of our commitment. But at the same time, I do also really want to recognize that there has been a really big shift, and I see that in a lot of German friends. I see that in a lot of German now comrades, and I think it's important. And our friend Qasim, who did an event in Hanover a couple of weeks ago, which was tremendous, and I think we'll talk about that a little bit as well. One of his points that has really stuck with me, which we know, but I don't think we emphasize it enough, is amongst the people around us, the people who are open to changing their minds and being awoken and learning, it really is important to assume the best in people and to take their approach with a grain of salt, but just to be to be accepting. And I think in that respect, I really do look around and see the people who have been awakened, and the 87% of Germans. I think it's important to be complimentary and and commend them. And on one hand, I say that, and then the next day I could also be saying, fuck all of you, it's been a year of genocide and you weren't in the streets, rioting. I don't mean that, of course. Like, everyone moves at their own pace. And I think the reason why we've honed in on weapons deliveries, both in our organizing and also in talking about this now and what we're going to continue talking about, is because it is something that pretty much virtually the entire population can look at and say, we can stand against this. We can stand against a man-made humanitarian catastrophe and large-scale extermination. That's something that we can agree on.
Yeah, and I think like it's always this is the base.
Yeah.
Like if you consider yourself a humanitarian, an internationalist, or like someone who has a fucking heart, the bare minimum that you can do is say, stop delivering weapons to the state that is doing an extermination campaign on people. And like I don't think people understand how shitty it feels to walk around every day working, doing shit and paying taxes to a government that is literally financing the extermination of your own people. It's the weight that you feel on your shoulders, the weight that I feel on my shoulders, and I hope everybody feels on their shoulders, is the weight that should wake them up. You cannot look at the pictures, at the videos, at the dead bodies, the shredded children that we're seeing. You cannot look at these pictures and say, it should continue. If you say this, you have completely abandoned your humanity. I don't know what else to say, actually. It's and I think this goes for almost everybody in the movement. And I think Qasim said this as well when he was in Hanover. He said, I don't know what to do, but every day I'm doing something. And that is what counts. We will not be able to free Palestine from here. What we can do is we can create better conditions. We can create awareness. We can give information, argumentative information, how to deal with Zionists, know when and where to invest your energy. That is essential, and we need to. This is a conversation for the entire community that is active for Palestine, and I think it's very important that we keep bringing up these topics, and that we bring up stuff that is. I mean, everything that's going on should make us cry. Everything that's going on should make us feel helpless. But if we give in to this helplessness, we will never be part of the liberation of Palestine.
Yeah.
And that is where I would like to see myself. That is where I see all my comrades. That is where I see you as a comrade, as someone on the street, putting the privilege that you have on the line to engage in. To try to get a free Palestine.
And I think this is ultimately what comes up is.
We'll get to your question.
Yeah, is ultimately in this argumentation, in arming people with facts and information, and just some kind of empowerment in understanding that you're not alone, you're not alone, you're not alone, and let that become a heartbeat. You're not alone. You're in a movement. We're organizing together and we're fighting together. That kind of that creates the feeling and the understanding that this is a responsibility. And I think that's what is important to instill in people, not yelling in their face, as much as that's also a reasonable reaction based on watching and processing and taking in all of this horror. But sitting down with people and saying, this, here are the circumstances, and here is this moment, and how do you want to meet it? And people who have retained their humanity look at the situation, look at the moment, and then they really do. They start to see it as a responsibility. They start to relate to it as a responsibility. And I've seen this. I've seen this so many times in the past year, and it's been, I mean, not just rewarding for me. It's not a personal feeling. It's rewarding because you have the feeling of collectivity from the movement, of seeing people enter in and seeing us just get a little bit stronger bit by bit. And someone actually came up to me in Hanover after the event, and it was the most beautiful interaction. You know, we had like a nice interaction, and then he messaged me after the fact, and said, like, one of the videos, or one of, like, it might have even been an SVU video, but something that like I had posted or related to in some way, had kind of snapped him out of his slumber. I think he put it was very beautiful the way he put it, and he's been totally active since then. And he just realized that being equipped with the facts, and being equipped with the argumentation, has made him capable of being in this movement. And I just want to add, we'll get to these questions also, but I think it's important to add, and we've been saying this since for the past year, but we've been saying this for a lot longer than that, is it is so easy to feel helpless, and it's so easy to feel like you're not contributing in any way when you're sitting behind your phone screen and just taking in the horrors. You have to be in space, in person. And this was also something, I mean, I assume we're not always going to be in the same place. We'll be in Hanover and I'll be in Berlin, but this is also part of how we try and relate to each other, and how I try and relate to my comrades, is we must come together in personal and political spaces and pool our resources and collect our energy, because otherwise you just feel alone and you cannot be effective. You have to be in sharing this.
I think it gives us a little bit of hope when you see someone who has never been active, or has been active in other political movements, and just kind of looked away when it comes to Palestine. It gives me hope to see, okay, I talked to this person, I invested a lot of time to bring up facts, to bring up arguments, and then in the end this person was like, you are right, we should fight for a free Palestine. This is something that gives me hope, that makes me think that this country, at least this population, is not completely lost, and is not like mobilization in this population is not non-effective.
Let's go to this question and then talk about these two examples, because I think that's
I think the experiences, we will get to the experiences.
it's kind of the same question. I mean, we can answer that in these two.
Yeah,
like the experiences.
I think the experiences is a very good segue to like the differences in how repression has been working around this country. Germany is deeply complicit, and we need to rise up against the German state's involvement in this genocide.
100%.
The question is, who is we?
Yeah.
Because we, as individuals, do not have power. We as collectives do. This is why the mobilization, for example, in your working, like where you work, in your direct like Umgebung. I can't find the word in English.
Surroundings. Environment.
It's very important. You need to have these conversations, and sometimes you are like the annoying guy who keeps talking about an active genocide while others are choosing to look away. But you can remain this annoying guy, and I mean I know I have, and I kept.
I'm the annoying guy.
Yeah, I kept being annoying, and in the end, people who I worked with were like, "Oh man, it's horrific. It's a genocide. We need to stop it." And they asked me to get stickers. They want to get stickers and put them everywhere. So it is effective, and we need to build collectives. We need to mobilize in the branches where we work, we need to mobilize in the unions, especially where we have a collective power already, we have a collective organization. We've seen this, for example, in Greece, I think, in Greece and Spain lately, right?
Turkey also, where they blocked
Turkey,
the
yeah, Greece and Turkey.
yeah.
So in Greece and Turkey, people who work at the Hafen,
The docks.
at the docks,
Harbors. Sorry,
yeah, at the harbor refused to let the ship go. I don't know the details, but I know that they
Yeah.
refused to let the ship go with the weapons that it had to deliver to the settler colonial state to continue its genocide, and this work is lacking in Germany. If I'm being honest,
Yeah.
in Germany we have scared people in the unions. We have people who would like to just keep their mouths shut and keep getting whatever crumbs the ruling class would like to give them in okay, what do you mean there weren't workers in the harbor?
No, they were. It was at the harbor in Greece, but we can look this up. We can
Yeah.
look this up, but
Right.
but I kind of want to continue on
Yeah.
that because you said who is we and how do we organize. I also agree that it's totally lacking in Germany, and we can always give the plug that you have to get organized. Like we
Yeah.
it is our responsibility to get organized. There are so many good groups. There are so many, Palestine action groups, political organizations, solidarity, collectives across the board. There are really ways for people to get involved. This was what I was thinking of. Yeah, where the guards were firing during protests in Istanbul.
Okay. Wait, let's switch to
So we
that.
can switch. Okay, and then I'll get back to the.
Miaushallah, do you have a link or something, a better link than the one we have, or is this the one that we were talking about? Security guards at the port of Istanbul fired into the air Tuesday during protests over the docking vessels belonging to Israel shipping company Zim, with demonstrations demanding an end to the Israeli presence in Turkish ports.
Oh, they just meant they weren't workers. They were demonstrators.
Oh, they were
Yeah.
demonstrators.
They were
Yeah.
demonstrators.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were really, and they were really totally brutal. I mean, they were shot at by
were
the
shot
state.
at, yeah.
Another.
This is such a
Yeah.
cool slogan.
It is
No
no
Zionism
Zionism
in our ports. This
yeah.
is a big thing.
Yeah.
I like the movement is growing, and I think just to set it in perspective, we are not alone. The majority of the countries are on Palestine's side. The only countries who are not on on the side of the Palestinians are the countries who are directly profiting from the military-industrial complex, or are the empire, the USA. Like,
But also, when you say the only countries, are you talking about the ruling class or are you talking about the population? Because ultimately, of course, the German ruling class is massively invested.
Yeah.
But then, even amongst the German population, as we've discussed, you really have,
yeah,
percolating solidarity that
that
is
is on the rise.
ripe to be awoken.
Yeah, on the rise. I think this movement will grow in Germany, and the German state will have to increase its repressions. And this is what we've been seeing with this resolution that was sent here in the chat. The resolution angeblich zum Schutz jüdisches Leben is just straight up an instrumentalization of one fight for let's switch. It's like an instrumentalization of like one fight against one kind of racism to do another kind of racism. Yeah.
But
Okay.
so I want to go from the Germany being complicit and also like what have our experiences looked like, because I want to get to like what can we do and what have we done of value in that side recently. So I've kept talking about this, about German weapons deliveries and how that's kind of the baseline of what people can connect over, that people can understand that, or you would hope that the
Hopefully,
people that people looking at children being blasted to smithereens by German and American weapons would want to protest against it. And actually, as it turns out, that really is the case. So in Berlin, a few months ago, I was involved in. I'm not taking credit for. I was other comrades who spearheaded this and have done an exceptional job of launching, and founding the Gaza Committee, the Gaza Committee, which was an action. It's an action committee. That's really what its purpose is. And the idea in founding it was to make space for anyone who isn't organized but wants to stand against the genocide in Gaza, to appeal to anyone who wanted that, anyone who didn't have a way of contributing, who'd maybe been in the streets. There were a lot of Germans, a lot of white Germans who had been in the streets every week at the demos, or they'd been ordinaten, or this or that, but they didn't have a real place to organize and direct their efforts. So we said, this is for everyone. You don't have to be Palestinian. You don't have to be, a lot of the groups are kind of organized on the basis of identity, or some of them are. There are Jewish groups, there are Palestinian groups, etc. We said, or leftist groups, socialist groups. We said, you don't need to be any of that. Just come and let's pool our efforts. And the first project that we wanted to launch, and the reason why we launched this, was to protest against German weapons exports. So that's what we did. We launched Gaza Comité a few months ago, before the summer break. And the way it was structured was, we had a few comrades go in and work with the NGOs, a handful of the big NGOs, Amnesty, Oxfam, Save the Children, etc., to come up with a petition, an Unterschriftenliste, with a list of demands, including the halting of all weapons deliveries to Palestine, to Israel, to bombard and to it's somehow just kind of I just was imagining like German weapons in the harbors, and I was kind of taken with that image. It's very, very, very disturbing. But anyway, so we sat down with NGOs and kind of came out with this petition, the idea being that we'd like to gather as many signatures as possible on this kind of fundamental basis of, we oppose German complicity in genocide, point. And then also as a means of getting in the streets and getting in our workplaces, as you mentioned, which is really important, and getting in the unions and amongst friends and neighbors, and explaining this and using this as a jumping off point. Also saying, here are some NGOs that are on board. Here are people who you can, and groups that you feel that you can get behind. Here's kind of a stamp. Don't be intimidated. Raise your voices. Don't be silent anymore. Here's a very easy kind of low threshold way of doing so.
Yeah, bare minimum.
Bare minimum.
Kind of. Is the petition still online? Can people sign it?
Yes, the petition is online. Let's send it.
We get the link.
Yes, that would be awesome. And so this was ultimately like the main point of launching the Gaza Committee, and then the other kind of working group being around argumentation and interventions, and also workshops in how to present our standpoints and how to present the history and the facts. And in combination, this has in practice led to being in the streets at the demos that happen every week, and we've had info stands here and there, and at other types of demos, anti-fascism demos and such, and we've collected, I don't know what the latest, I believe the latest number was it's definitely over 10,000. It could have been over 12,000, and our group that we organized with, a few comrades were out in the streets yesterday, had an info stand, and collected 120 signatures on their own, which is exceptional. And this has been our experience, is connecting on this lowest threshold possible. Yeah, we can send this.
I can't find the link.
No, it's something else. No, it's not Gaza Committee. Gaza Committee is the group that helped to organize it, but it would be Amnesty International petition German weapons. Or
here, petition. No.
Where is it?
No, a little bit more.
Petition. Yeah, we'll send this.
Yeah, but it's not for German weapons.
Doch, oder?
We can.
Okay, wait. We can. Okay, it's worth just finding and sending this. It should be on the Gaza Committee, in the link in bio. But ultimately, this has really pushed, created a lot of momentum in connecting with people who have wanted to be, with a K, yeah, who have wanted to be, it's actually, Gaza Committee, is it Gaza Committee Berlin? Jesus, this is so embarrassing. I'm like,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think committee is double M or some shit.
If you go to my profile, it should be okay. I'll find it and send it to you. Anyway,
Yeah.
point being, there is this petition out here which we are going to send to you and we're going to show you, and this kind of mobilization and expanding the movement and breaking us out of our isolation is is really important, because we do have this 87% of the population who is theoretically open to this kind of mobilization. And so a few weeks ago, beginning or mid-October, the NGOs then called for a demo, Gerechten Frieden Haus.
Yeah.
And I think it also very fair to say they don't represent our political positions necessarily, but the point is that not all these groups need to represent our political positions. We just want an excuse to get out there and mobilize more people. And yeah, okay.
This is
so
the
you sent
petition,
this.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I think, just like you said, we do not need them to represent our position entirely. It could be a jumping
Exactly.
board for everyone who's trying to engage with this subject. This would be like the beginning of the radicalization through informed positions. And I think so. Just for the peeps, some of you know I don't live in Berlin. I live in Hanover, and we've had a couple of good. We've had a little bit of momentum. We have a few groups in Hanover working for the same goal. We've had multiple, every week one demonstration. Thank you to Intifada Hanover. They're doing very, very good work. We've had SVU, of course, doing work. We invited Qasim al-Masri last week, and he did an entire Vortrag, an entire lecture about the medical situation in Gaza, because he has been in Gaza, and he's Kinder- und Jugendmediziner, so
Pediatric cardiologist,
and specialized in neonatology, which means he has seen a lot of suffering. And we did this event. We did some donation campaign, and we donated to medical aid for Palestinians, MAP, which I can also send the link, because they are doing so much work and they need so much more support. Yeah, exactly. And we've had also other groups trying to find an entrance for people through movies. That would be OM. And we've had a few groups in the students movement. The Students for Palestine movement has also been growing. They've given demands to the university, because the university in Hanover, the LUH, has projects where they work on the construction, on the, like, how to build these bulldozers that do the bulldozers that do the destruction in the West Bank and also in Gaza right now. So the students launched a camp. They did a lot of work, and they've had also their sitting with the president, which, I mean, went as well as one can expect. But we have some movements. We have a lot of new people joining the movement. A lot of new people who are already active in other movements that are now joining, which means we have access to other movements. But what I want to talk about right now is the difference in repressions, because I've been in Berlin, I've been beaten up by cops. We do not have this in Hanover, and it's not because the cops in Hanover are angels. It's because the cops in Berlin are very aggressive. I do not know what they consume on a regular basis, let's say. But it's very the violence in Berlin is very very reminiscent of the violence in Syria, which is
Yeah.
where I have lived and which is also where I've seen a lot of repression regarding demonstrations, and the difference is not that huge. The parallels are very very prominent. Like you can literally see them if you just look. So that has been my experience. I have been beaten up in more times in Berlin than in Hanover, even though I demonstrated a lot more in Hanover. So
Yeah, that tells you what you need to know.
yeah.
Yeah, but I think so. I mean, I think there are different ways of being, of challenging the narratives. There are different ways of being active in the movement. Of course, it goes without saying. The reason why we and I am bringing up the like petition and also these types of Veranstaltungen, these types of events, is because not everyone is open to that level of physical violence. That's okay. I mean, obviously we want everyone to be in the streets and we think it's important, and the more people are in the streets, the more chance we have of really being able to expand and grow the movement, which creates protection just in numbers, versus a select handful of people protesting and being isolated and therefore the target of this kind of violence. But that being said, we want people to be as active as possible in a variety of different ways. So in these two examples with Gaza Committee and having this petition, with having this type of event, which is very informative, with having movie nights, having movie nights with a political theme,
Yes.
but creating these types of solidarity spaces, this also does create a huge opportunity to combat that repression, because the repression is extreme, and like I said at the very beginning, it feels pretty impossible and it feels pretty frightening. And when you see your comrades' homes being searched and people being really brutally assaulted, of course it's demoralizing, and of course it's discouraging, and of course it's frightening, and they want it to be all of those things. But there are ways of being active and activating and protecting your friends, protecting your comrades, and protecting the cause and holding the cause central and sacred. And yeah, I mean, that was really why I wanted to talk about these things, because that there is an opportunity for everyone to do that, regardless of where you are, and regardless of, or let's say regardless of where you are within Germany. I live in Berlin, and this is our repression context, but these things are possible and they are necessary for us. So
Yeah, and it's also like why we always why we put so much emphasis on bringing new people on board is because the more we are, the stronger we are. What was it like? A rope is only strong because of strings interwoven, and we are unbreakable together, and we are. And when isolated, we are a lot weaker, and this is why solidarity, and this is why I thought of like this. Okay, like I've been doing the stream for a while now. The reason why I got you on board is because we have been having these conversations every time.
Yeah.
Like these conversations, and in my opinion, these conversations are very important to be like, because we understand that the necessity of being authentic, of expressing how shitty, how angry, how disappointed one feels when after one fucking year of genocide you have some idiot anti-Deutsche telling you, yeah, apartheid is strittig. Like you are so far behind. You cannot. Or like I've had people tell me, yeah, Gaza is not under occupation, or was not under occupation.
that's a favorite talking point. Favorite fucking line.
Yeah, but that's the point. If it feels the anger that you get when you feel like you have to start with fucking not even zero. Like if they don't have information, you can give them information, but you have to start with minus information. These like bad propaganda that is internalized and believed because of the fact that Palestinians are not viewed as equal humans. They are not equal humans in the system that the settler colonial state has created since 1948, and they are not even equal because of the propaganda. They're not even equal in the eyes of Westerners,
Yeah.
no matter how left they
I know.
are.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I think like this, giving this space for rage is very important. Um, and I think we will do this so many times. At some point you will tell us to stop yelling, and I think we will.
We didn't even yell today.
Yeah,
Today was chill. Today was ruhig.
yeah. I think today was ruhig because we did not. I mean, it's just like
We're
kind of an
introducing the space.
Einführung, yeah,
Yeah,
where it's an
definitely.
introduction.
But I think this is maybe, and I think we're kind of coming to the end, but this is
Yeah.
something that I want to bring up and leave people with, and I think something that we should discuss more. There is an expectation and an idea around people who post content on social media. I don't want to say influencers because I just think it's the worst word and the worst concept, but people who are active as activists on social media, that they have some kind of authority or some kind of, or even not even necessarily on social media. I mean, we have people like leaders in the movement who are not on social media, but there's this real misconception and an illusion that they are somehow unbreakable and that they somehow have answers. And I think one of the most important realizations and one of the most important aspects of organizing to internalize and to hold central is that we are all the same in this movement. We're all the same. We are all experiencing these horrors, and we process them in different ways, but it doesn't feel any better for anyone just because they have 1,000 more Instagram followers or because they've done 5 more events than anyone else. It's horrific and it is crushing. It's destabilizing and devastating and debilitating. And as much as like, I don't know, as much as I can get up in speeches and shout about long live the resistance, and I will shout that every day until I die, we still do have more of a process than just the speeches we give or the posts that we make or the essays we write or, you know, this, that, and the other thing. So therefore, this kind of space to make room for that and to make room for our own humanity drives us forward in advocating and fighting for the humanity of others and for all.
Yeah, and I just want to add one thing. If our comrades and our brothers and sisters who have family right now in Gaza and that see their suffering, have lost family members in Gaza, if they can move on, if they can keep on advocating for Palestine, it is our responsibility, it's our duty, and it is our responsibility and our duty to continue pushing and to always remain on the right side of history. And just being on the right side of history should be enough as its own reward, even though it's very hard to see anything in a positive light at this moment. But
we don't have a right to despair. We have a right to our own humanity and our own breakability, but we don't have a right to despair.
No. Palestinians in Gaza are extremely resilient, but they are not resilient by choice. They are forced to be resilient. They have been forced to be resilient their entire life. And it's on us to carry this resiliency and to carry the humanity that they teach us everywhere and present it and show them that even though they are suffering a million times more than anything that we've ever seen, which is we are with them and we feel with them. We try to put ourselves in their shoes, and we try to always keep on advocating, keep on speaking for Palestine. And yeah, I think that's it from me today, at least.
I think that's a good place to end it.
Yeah. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in.
See you next week.
See you next week. We're gonna do this is gonna be a weekly thing. Next week it's gonna be a little bit more, kind of content heavy.
Yeah, probably.
Less of our faces, more of the laptop's face telling you, unfortunately, horrific shit, because Israel keeps being a very horrific settler colonial state.
But necessary shit that you need to know.
Yeah. So thank you for
Till
tuning
next
in. Till
For